What's up, Samurai? We are back with more Genshin Impact, and today we're going to be talking about that new 4-star character, Mika. So for those that just want the talent materials and Ascension Guide, whatever, this is everything you're going to end up needing out of this boy. He is going to end up being a Mondstadt character, which means that we can end up getting all of the resources already prepared, but unfortunately he does still take Scaramouche resources, which, I mean, makes sense as far as the progress of the game is concerned, but not lore-wise because he's from Mondstadt. The weird thing is that Honey Impact actually labels him as a polearm character, but he's not. He's actually a catalyst character that uses a polearm and a crossbow. So he's actually a very interesting character that we haven't really seen in Genshin Impact yet, because not only is it actually a character using a crossbow, which is really cool, but it's the first character that's essentially using two different weapon types. So he's got like an aiming mode as well as a melee mode, which is really interesting. So of course, the main thing to keep in mind is that Mika is not going to be part of the Phase 1 banners. Phase 1 banners is going to end up being Dea and Cyno, and then Phase 2 is going to be Ayaka and Shenhe, and that's where Mika is going to end up being, because of course he's going to end up being a cryo character. Now, the normal attack, just very briefly, is going to end up being consecutive strikes that are both crossbow and spear, but let's move on to his elemental skill. So that's going to be Starfrost Swirl. So Mika uses his crossbow to attack, granting all nearby characters in your party Soul Wind. When characters in the Soul Wind state are on the field, their attack speed is increased. This will end up taking effect in different ways if tapped or held. So when you tap the button, he'll just fire a Flowfrost arrow that can pierce through enemies, dealing cryo damage to enemies it hits and comes in contact with. And then the hold goes into aiming mode, which will lock onto an opponent and fire a Rhymestar Flare at them, dealing cryo damage. When the Rhymestar Flare hits, it will rise before exploding, launching Rhymestar shards into a maximum of 3 other opponents, dealing more cryo damage. Now, I don't know how high the attack speed ends up increasing. I've heard mixed results from some people saying 10%, some people saying 25%, but the fact is that it is a stat that, or the Soul Wind state is something that does stack based on the amount of times that you end up tagging enemies. So I'm not exactly sure why Honey Impact isn't reporting on that, but we'll just move on and, you know, just keep that as a little asterisk when the character ends up coming out. So Skyfeather's Song is going to be the ultimate ability, derives the ability to spur his teammates on from the recited prayers of the Knightly Order, regenerating HP for all nearby party members. This healing is based off Mika's max HP and will grant them the Eagle Plume state. So the Eagle Plume state, when normal attacks of active characters affected by the Eagle Plume hit an opponent, Mika will help them regenerate HP based on his max HP. Characters affected by this state can only regenerate HP in this way for once for a short interval of time. So basically it sounds like a Bennett ult where you throw it down and then as you end up dealing damage you start healing. I mean, I guess Bennett ult, it just kind of passively does that on the ground, but it's weird to see that we've got yet another 4-star character that is a healer, because we've already got a lot of those characters in my opinion. But anyways, let's move on to his passive abilities. So his first passive displays the location of nearby resources unique to Mondstadt on the minimap. His second passive, per the following circumstances: the Soul Wind state caused by Starfrost Swirl, his E, will grant characters the Detector effect, increasing their physical damage by 10% when they are on the field. So if the Flowfrost arrow hits more than one opponent, each additional opponent hit will grant 1 Detector stack. When a Rhymestar shard hits an opponent, it will generate 1 Detector stack. Each Rhymestar shard can trigger the effect 1 time. The Soul Wind state can have a maximum of 3 Detector stacks, and if Starfrost Swirl is cast once again during this duration, the pre-existing Soul Wind state and all its Detector stacks will be cleared. So you gotta be careful with the amount of stacks that you end up getting, and I guess that's where, never mind the attack speed stacking, as I mentioned, that is the stacking effect, which is just more and more physical damage, which is a very, very interesting and weird passive, with so many characters infusing their weapons with the element of their character. But anyways, his third passive, so when an active character affected by both Skyfeather's Song, Eagle Plume, and the Starfrost Swirl Soul Wind at once scores a crit hit with their attacks, Soul Wind will grant them 1 stack of Detector from the Suppressive Barrage. During a single instance of Soul Wind, one detector stack can be gained in this manner. Additionally, the maximum number of stacks that can be gained through Soul Wind alone is increased by 1. Required suppressive barrage to be unlocked first. Okay, so essentially what it's saying is you want to have your E ability and your ult down both at the same time so that you can end up getting up to 4 detector stacks instead of 3, if my understanding serves correctly. Anyways, move on to the constellations. Basically, I mean, he's just use all your abilities, swap off of him, and use someone else on the field, right? So anyways, his C1. So the Soul Wind state of Starfrost Swirl can decrease the healing interval between instances caused by Skyfeather's Song Eagle Plume state. So essentially, you can heal a little bit more often in the ult. This decrease percentage is equal to the attack speed increase provided by Soul Wind. So, okay, so it's very, very minuscule. His C2 makes it so that when Starfrost Swirl's Flowfrost arrow first hits opponents, or its Rhymestar Flare hits opponents, one detector stack from passive talent Suppressive Barrage will be generated. You must have unlocked the passive talent Suppressive Barrage. Yeah. So they basically are just making it so that no matter what, you'll end up getting a detector rather than it being the other more complicated, convoluted way. This character's got a lot of abilities that just seem really lame to me. Anyways, his C3 is going to end up increasing your ult, actually, which is interesting. C4, when Mika's own Skyfeather Song Eagle Plume state heals party members, this will restore 3 energy to Mika. This form of energy restoration can occur 5 times during the Eagle Plume state, created by 1 use of his ultimate. So that's quite a bit of extra energy that he can end up generating while he's off of the field. His C5 ends up increasing his E ability, which is his arrow, and then his C6. The maximum number of detector stacks that the Starfrost Swirl Soul Wind can gain is increased by 1. You need to have unlocked the passive talent. Yes, we get it. Additionally, active characters affected by Soul Wind will deal 60% more physical crit damage. Physical crit damage is what it says, which sounds very, very strange to me. I guess that just means that 60% more crit damage, but only with physical attacks. Very, very odd. Very, very strange character. But I think that a lot of this has to do with the fact that he's going to complement Ayaka and Shenhe very well. Either way, very, very weird character. A lot of convoluted abilities. His constellations seem a bit lame to me because they kind of just round out his kit rather than making him exceptionally different. But I mean, that's my 2 cents towards it. So let's just very briefly talk about how we would end up building ya boy. Obviously, he is a catalyst character, so there is a lot of different options for his weapon. But I mean, generally, I would just end up using this for the crit rate. Otherwise, there is the attack percentage. The Dodoko one is going to be pretty good. And I mean, again, the best one in almost all cases is going to either be energy regen in this character's case because of the fact that he's such a strong support character. But then there's also going to end up being the ones from the battle pass, as well as the ones that you can get out of the shop every now and then that end up scaling with the crit damage. Those will probably end up being your best options. Now, as far as the artifacts are concerned, let me actually see. So, you know what? I wonder whether or not we would end up getting the charged attack damage increase with using Catalyst or Bow. Yeah, that's Catalyst or Bow. So I wonder how that would end up affecting him. Right? Because his charge attack, as far as I know, is still just going to be a spear lunge, despite the fact that he's a catalyst character. So, I don't know. Could be interesting. Maybe that would end up working on him. So, because he's such a weird character, I could see using Pale Flame as a set, just because of the physical damage bonus, as well as the 4-piece set. I don't know if I would necessarily recommend it. I just think that that would be kind of an interesting one. Otherwise, you're probably just going to want to stick with the cryo set more than usual. I don't know. Just kind of take what I've got on Ganyu as not really a prime example. I'm just trying to kind of show you just basically what you would be going for. So it seems like most of all, since he's a support character, I probably wouldn't even bother putting a lot of damage on him and instead would focus on other abilities like energy and elemental mastery and so on and so forth. But for the most part, yeah, you would probably still end up just going for the primary damage stats as per usual, as well as a lot of HP, depending on how you want to end up using him. For the Sands, I would either use attack percentage or HP. For the Goblet, I would probably just end up doing the cryo damage bonus just because he is going to deal cryo damage, obviously. And then for the Hat, it's going to be crit rate, crit damage, or maybe healing percentage. I don't know. I mean, it seems like he's got a very limited amount of healing, but you could end up just building him as a healer. So that would be more like what I have set up for Jean, where you would use Maiden's Beloved or something. I don't know. I mean, he's kind of a weird character. So just keep in mind that his build is going to be very, very strange and very, you know, dependent on how you actually want to fit him into your party. So depending on whether you want to have him as more of a main character, I wouldn't even bother with his normal attack because it sounds like you're going to have him off of the field more often than not. And instead I would focus on his E, his ult, and then his normal attack last. Unless you were going to end up using him primarily, and then you would have to get his normal attack up at a little bit of a higher priority, even though you would still try to keep all of his abilities either around 6, maybe 8 if you want to have him as a main, and 10 only if you absolutely love him as far as a character. But generally speaking, it seems like his kit is not super ideal. Like, for how Genshin works, it sounds like he's like, it kind of feels to me like they're scraping the bottom of the barrel with trying to come up with ideas to make each of these characters feel unique, because they don't want to commit to just giving us like some new type of ability or stat that should just be in the game by this point, which they're probably waiting for Fontaine for that. Anyways, thanks for watching. Smash like, sub for more, buy the merch you want to support the channel, and have a wonderful day, everybody.